Mekhi Becton being out for 4 to 6 weeks now, that's a huge hit to this offensive line. And I think that you saw when Fant moved from the right side to the left side, you saw that the offensive line started to perform just a little bit better. So Fant on the left side and Moses on the right side, I think is going to be the recipe, for the time that Becton is out. And, I'm hoping that Moses, with the time that Becton is out, can kind of, establish himself as the clear right tackle for this football team so that we can get some momentum building throughout the season. What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ Today, episode 32 of the podcast. Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing good, bro. Ready to get into it. Let's get after it.
Let's get after it. I feel like there is a lot to go over, and not all of it's pleasant, which is kind of frustrating. I was kind of hoping to discuss a win today with you. We did not come out on top versus the Panthers. Let's get to the chat. We got Harry W. He's enjoying himself a cocktail and some Jets talk. That sounds pretty splendiferous. We've got Jeremy Cravat in the chat. What is that? Oh, that sounds good. Jeremy Cravat in the chat. Big arms with all them emojis flexing and thumbs up. Good to see you in the chat, sir. And we've got Stephen Engel. And he gives a good comment right off because I like to laugh. And he says, everybody write a comment so John can read us bitching and moaning about our favorite team for the next hour or so. Yeah. Fill her up, man. We're going to read everything. We're going to read it all.
Yeah. That's make him work. Make him resize every comment in that chat.
It's hard, man. Sometimes people will post like 3-word comments, and then there's like
last week that was just it blew up to the entire size of the stream.
Yep. Whenever that happens, it's always just perfect. It looks just right. All right, so let's get to some of our peeps. We've got Rusty Spooner as well. He says, "What's up, John, Mike, Gangrene fam? Good to see you in the chat, Rusty Spooner." We've got, let's see. I did say Stephen Engel. He says, "Best friend Harry has a brother, Larry. In 5 days from now, he's gonna marry." Oh, cool.
Man, we got a little bit of a rhyme going.
Yeah. And what's up? We got Jason Rhodes with his automatic weapons in his profile. What's up, Jason Rhodes? Good to see you. He says it's a song, bust a move. All right, yeah, I'm not real hip, man. You're gonna have to go slower for me. Anyway, we are gonna get to the mailbag while people join us into the show. We're really excited that you're here. If you are new to the channel, consider, subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, jet up the like button. Really appreciate the support, guys. We got wedding bells chiming. Mr. and Mrs. Wighouse are now officially married. So, James, I know you're probably not watching this. You're probably, taking care of business on honeymoon. Congrats to you and the missus. The wedding picture looks beautiful here. Thought I would share that with everybody on the channel.
Does he have a beard? Is that the beard there? I'm trying to see it.
He's got the beard and the fade.
Yeah. Looks like Leonidas getting married.
Jesus. Excuse me. He looks beautiful, and his wife looks more beautiful. His wife looks more beautiful.
Where are they? What's that? Carolinas?
I think in New Jersey. I think that's what he told me, actually.
Really?
That Mike, the little tyke, gonna buy him a bike that will surely like. Everybody's popping right.
We got a wrap off going in there, dude.
It seems like it. Yeah, people are happy that you're here. People will often ask me why you're not. People ask me why you're not on the Sunday show. I said that's Chad and I's baby. We made that one together, but they're always excited to see you. All right, let's see. We got some more chat. We'll get to that before we get to the mailbag. Here's a nice blown up picture of Mike. I'm sure he appreciates that. And he says, I want someone on that offensive line to step up and be a leader of that group. Get these guys together and figure it the hell out. I also want to see some attitude and fight out of that group. Mikey boy, preach to Mike, the other Mike. What are your thoughts
Mike Malone, baby.
on what he's saying right now? Because I feel like he's preaching to the choir.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who does step up there. I mean, I 100% think he's right. Now, the early reports coming out right after the draft looked like Mackay was taking that role, especially meeting up with Vera Tucker right after, I think, right before OTAs, or even before OTA started. And it was like, okay, so Becton's going to take the lead of this slow line. This is his line. You know, he's going to take it to the next level. Of course, it didn't look like that really happened prior to the first game. And then, of course, now he's injured. So the captain of that O-line is currently vacant, and someone is going to need to step up. I don't see it being Vera Tucker, so that means it has to, I would say probably Morgan Moses is probably in the best position to be that person at this point. Obviously Fan had a horrible game. I don't really see him. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Fan does now. Obviously, having rotated to left tackle now, it's going to be really interesting to see. In some ways, I'm going to be that guy that annoys everyone. In some ways, does this reshuffling give them a fresh start? Think of it that way. In which case, not only does Fan get a fresh start to really show that he wants to be on this team and contribute, but also allows someone to take the lead on who's gonna lead by example on that line. And my bet would be Moses. So I agree with him. It's going to be curious. It's interesting. This game, I think, is more interesting than the last game for me because it's really good. It's going to really show how the coaching staff is trying to correct gaps and weak points and things like that. And obviously, the offensive line takes the cake for one of the biggest disappointments of Week 1. So I'll be curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest concerns. I think probably the biggest concern amongst all Jets fans. The offensive line was brutal in the first half. Jeremy Cravat agrees with you. He's saying that Morgan Moses played like a captain, and I don't know if we can count on McGovern to take on that role, the center for us. I mean, he could potentially, but we do need somebody to step up and kind of grab the offensive line group by the balls and just say, guys, we have got to do better than this. We did not protect our quarterback. I mean, I'm sure you did, and I'm sure you guys in the chat saw, there were some monstrous hits laid on Wilson in that game. I mean, big shots.
He got hit. He got sacked 6 times, and I think he got hit 10 times.
It may have even been more than that. Yeah, it might have even been more hits than that. And here's the other thing, and we'll talk about this later, but over 50% of his dropbacks were pressures. So right. Half the time he dropped back, he's got somebody in his face or in his lap, ready to take his...
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go. You cut me off, you go.
All right, I'll go. I don't feel like Wilson's... I mean, people are giving him credit for the grit he had. But think about any other Jet quarterback. Think of that stat you just threw out. I can't remember what you just said, but over 50, I think you said over 50%. And like I said, the one I read was hit 10 times, sacked 6 times, only threw one interception. Imagine that was Sanchez. Or imagine if it was Sam. Mm-hmm. Obviously different receivers, different offensive coordinator. I'm not saying it's apples to apples entirely. I can't think of another Jet quarterback who would have only thrown one interception with that much pressure all game. I'll just say that. So no, that's one thing.
I think it's a completely fair take, a reasonable take. He really, really hung in there in the second half. I mean, he played his balls off considering the assault that was, going on against him. Rusty Spooner says, lack of Mims, O-line, D-line are suspect. We actually blocked better when Becton was out, unfortunately. Something was definitely wrong with Becton before this injury. Becton kind of blew off what LaFleur had said in the presser. LaFleur had said, not Moses. Becton wasn't, quite right. He was still working on getting right. And Becton was like, nah, I'm good. And clearly there's something going on. And I do agree that, there's something, either like a mental aspect of like the game that's too much for him right now. Maybe it's the scheme, but something's not quite right with Becton, even assuming that, that he does get healthy this season. It'll be interesting to see how he plays when he comes back, if he comes back. Because that's the other thing. Now the speculation is if Becton does need surgery, he's going to be out for the year.
Right.
Which is a monstrous... we have incurred crazy, significant, devastating injuries. Right. Loss in the edge. Left tackle Becton, who had tons of promise going to this year, so it's not been easy to be green at all. Rusty Spooner again. He says, Pats are in for a rude awakening. I hope they take us lightly like they're masshole fans. Gangrene for life. We'll talk. We're gonna break the game down. I'm gonna go ahead and read a couple more comments, and then we'll get to our mailbag. Schuler, you jest. What happened to Wesco and the big fullback experiment? They ran it all summer, and then nada. This is a great comment, a great question. I don't recall you being on the show before, Schuler. So welcome to the channel. Oh, sound effects are off. Let's try that one more time. Good to see you in the chat. What do you think about that? Wesco was featured heavily in the preseason, and then they literally did nothing to involve him.
No, and that was, if I had the big three disappointments that I had, because me and John didn't watch the game together, so this is really our first time talking about it. Obviously offensive line takes the cake for me. Number two, second in silver medal for disappointment would definitely be the D-line, or just defensive lack of defensive pressure. That blew my mind. That I felt like we were invisible, especially with Quentin Williams. And then bronze medal goes to the running game, which was going to be Mike LaFleur's kind of
bread and butter.
Big bread and butter, yeah, bread and butter. Bringing a third dimension to the team that we all talked about was needed to take the pressure off Zach, and it just wasn't there. Looking at the little bit of production that Coleman did, the little bit of production that Ty Johnson did, and Michael Carter sprinkled all over the place. That was a big disappointment to me, because I have a lot of excitement for that committee that we have, especially Michael Carter. Everyone knows that, and it was like invisible. Going back, I think Wesco was a big part of some of the success we had. I'm not saying that running game blew anyone's mind in preseason by no means, but it definitely was part of Mike LaFleur's. I thought one of the things that I was most excited about was how he was incorporating Wesco. And I felt like that same theme, not just on Wesco, we abandoned a lot of things that we did see in preseason that just weren't there in that first regular season game. I think you could pick out a lot of things that we didn't do for one reason. Mims is another one, right? We incorporated Mims into those preseason games. Mims is nowhere to be found, and yes, I saw your frustration with your banter back with Chad on how if that happens again, you're really going to be on another level. But
I'm going to guess something right now. I'm going to predict that they're going to make him inactive for this next game. They're going to inactivate. No. Yes, they will. I think they will. No. I think that he will not dress for this coming game.
They can't afford to do that.
That's my prediction. I'm sticking with that. All right, let's get back to the chat here. Oh, we really can't afford another injury. We're going to be in worse trouble. I think if we have another big-time injury, let's say, Corey Davis, somebody that's clearly going to be like a really important piece this season. If we lose players like that, again, we're in really bad shape, I think, at that point. So I think that's a great comment, fair point fair take to point out. Let's see. Zach comes in early, stays late his rookie year. His first game he comes through. If I were the O-line, I'd be ashamed. Yeah, man. He stepped up. I thought he did his part. He did have the one interception where he kind of forced it a little bit. But overall, I was very, very impressed with Zach Wilson. And he bounced back from the interception. He did very, very well. So I liked what I saw out of Zach for sure. There's not really a whole lot that I would complain about. So Stephen Engels says, "Hey John, what's up with the gangrene message board? The people in there are mad that JD didn't spend extra money on another free agent, but then they blame JD when free agents are injured." Another fair question, another fair take. I'm not one of those people. I think that he did a really good job in free agency addressing holes on the team. And I think that it was like a healthy balance. Like he was aggressive, but also not overly aggressive. I think that Corey Davis signing, it was huge at the time.
Huge.
Big time signing. I still think the Carl Lawson signing was monstrous, even though he's hurt for the season. You know, if he had stayed healthy, that was going to be a big time signing. I really believe that. So I think anybody that's complaining about how he approaches free agency, they just want the fix. They want that quick fix, man. They want it. They want the Jets to be a playoff contender now, and that is what we did with McCagnon, and that is why it bellied up. It did not work out.
I know, but you can't fault Jet fans who have that appetite. I mean, I'm not saying it's realistic. I'm not saying that, but I also don't fault Jet fans. I mean, my dad's like that. John knows that. You know, my dad has little to no patience for any type of rebuilding, right? And you know, if you given the heartbreak that the fan base has had to go through, I get it. I mean, like I said, it's not realistic, but I don't fault fans who have that urgency. It's just it's difficult. It's growing pains.
Yeah. And Joe Musa is in agreement with me. He's saying Mims doesn't really play special teams, although he did offer in the Giants preseason game. But he's right mostly. You know, he doesn't return. So he's saying he'll be the 7th receiver on the roster, and he's going to be inactive. And I believe that. I think he will be inactive for the Patriots game. It's crazy that the development that has not happened and, you know, whatever he's done wrong, it's shocking. It's one of the most surprising storylines of the season and, you know, preseason to this point, I think, for the entire 2021 Jets team. So, Lindell's with a question. I love question. He says, "What is your take on Elijah Moore? Should we be concerned? Excuse me." I'll answer that one first. No. Even if he had fumbled and if he had caught a pass and fumbled the ball, I wouldn't be concerned. I think that, you know, week 1, there had to have been some jitters. He didn't play a lot of preseason. We all know that. He didn't play any preseason. I think that's a factor. I think those live reps matter. And so I'm not making excuses for Elijah Moore. He does need to play better. But I think he's going to do better, you know, starting this coming week. They're going to try to get him involved. And so to answer your question bluntly, no, I'm not worried. I think it's just going to be one of those things where our young guys need time. They're going to need time to develop. Oh, let's see here. Joe isn't bad in free agency. 2020 draft, terrible. Right now, the 2020 draft is just injured. That's really the biggest thing. Injured. Ashton Davis, injured. Braden Mann, injured. Mekhi Becton, injured. Cameron Clark, injured. You go down the list. Mims has been banged up, you know, throughout his time. Nothing significant, but injured. So if they cannot shake the injuries, man, it could be the story for that 2020 class. They just never could shake injuries.
Sure.
So we'll. All right, let's get to the mailbag because we haven't even started it yet. Guys, if you're here, throw some comments in there, throw some questions in there. I'd be happy to read it. We got one more question. Sorry, one more, because this is another person that's new, I believe. Don't recognize you. If you're new, welcome, sir. Go Getta. He says, should we be concerned with the Patriots' D-line? Go, Mikey, go.
Yeah, I think we need to be worried about all the Patriots. How about that? From their D-line to their defensive backs. I mean, I think the Patriots have a solid defense, and I think taking your eye off of that is a big mistake. So yeah, I do think we need to worry about that. More of a reason why that offensive line really needs to look at week 2 as a fresh start. Do I think it's the same level of threat as Carolina? I don't believe so. I mean, Carolina's DNs were pretty legit. I think we talked about that going into the game. But I don't think the one thing that Bill Belichick is good at is building a solid defense. That's one thing that us Jets fans have seen for the last 20 years. So don't take your eye off the New England Patriots defense, D line, and its secondary. And I am worried about what Zach's turnover stats are after this game, depending on how much they make him throw the ball. We'll see.
Oh, I promise everybody we're gonna get into detail about all of this stuff. For right now, keep doing your comments. I am favoriting comments, and I will get to all of them as best I can. The first mailbag goes to CD2K, who has left many a mailbag in the past. So thanks for submitting. He says Zach pushing the ball is a winning strategy against the Pats. Belichick is always looking to keep it messy, keep everybody in front of you. Against the Panthers, however, Zach was too aggressive and didn't at all use or consider any of his shallow options. There needs to be a balance. I'm going to talk about his first take where he's talking about the Pats wanting to keep everything in front of them. And he is 100% right about that. They play, in years past, maybe not this year, we don't know yet, but in years past, they play a lot of red zone defense, which they don't let you get, a ton, deep down the field. They want you to have to work down the field, chip away. And then once they get in the red zone, they kind of lock it down. And so I agree, you can look, down the field. You can push down the field to try and get those quick strike scores. But it could be one of those things where you could falter and it could lead to some turnovers because they want to limit that stuff as much as possible. So I do agree, though. The Panthers game, it felt like there were not enough easy completions scripted into the game plan. So what are your takes on that? The last part, Zach, too aggressive in the Panthers game and not enough use of the short stuff.
Well, you got to remember, he was coming. We were down 19 or 16-0, or whatever it was at half.
Yeah.
And his first game. So coming out, no, I was not shocked to see him try to aggressively turn that game around. And so I don't think it's fair to say that he forgot or that it was a misstep that he didn't perhaps take the check down. I think after that halftime, and we don't know what was said, but I think they came out of that tunnel wanting to be aggressive. Does that give them a pass? Were there some passes that were definitely forced? Some of the incompletions, yeah, absolutely. But I just think that I don't think that first game, particularly coming into the second half where we were getting shut out, is a fair real opportunity for Zach to see if Zach is actually following the right progressions at that point. I will say after week 2, I think we can have a fair discussion about that, though.
Sure. All right, cool. Let's go to mailbag 2. There are a lot of mailbags tonight. We're going to get to all of them. So this is kind of a response to the last mailbag. Dan Moscow is saying that the Patriots are going to use a bear front, which is where they kind of pack people into the box, and they're going to go cover 0, which I think is interesting. He's saying that that's the defense that Darnold was seeing Casper the Friendly Ghost. And he's not wrong about that. That was the game where they were just sending the freaking house at Darnold. And, yeah, ghosts. He was just throwing the ball up. And, yeah, I think there's a good chance they tried to take advantage of this offensive line early. You could see some massive blitzes by Belichick. Excuse me. You could see some massive blitzes early in the game, in my opinion. What do you think about that? Just sending the house at 100%. Zach.
And for week 1, Stephon Gilmore was not even active for the Pats versus Miami, so he's back for us. So that should be fun.
Is he? I thought he was out for a couple more weeks.
The last I heard is that he's tentative. He's a game time decision.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I thought I had heard he wasn't going to be back until later. I thought he was on the pup. I don't know.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that. Maybe the chat will correct us on that one. All right, mailbag number 3. This is an interesting message from Justin48. He says, I'm already worried. We've read this book. No protection for a young stud quarterback. We can't ruin him. I'm not worried that he isn't talented, meaning that he knows how talented he is. but more worried that this O-line won't let him succeed or potentially he ends up getting injured. I got to be honest with you, man. We talked about it all offseason. Whoever we were going to draft, whoever we were going to trade for the quarterback position, if we had kept Sam, we had always said that if we do not protect the quarterback, it's going to lead to some really bad stuff. And now that we've drafted a quarterback in the top 3 again, I don't know, man. I'm worried about our pass protection. So, what are your thoughts on the long-term brain damage that we could be causing to our quarterback?
It's not like we're not trying. It's not like Joe D doesn't know that. I mean, we saw him make big moves to solidify that area, and you just can't. You just never know the way the cookie's going to crumble, right? I know there's people in the chat last week or on Sunday, with you in chat, and I saw a couple to write tonight saying, perhaps the team needs to reevaluate Becton's, where Becton is given his injury trajectory. As good of a player is, if you're on the bench, if you're on the PUP list, you're not really contributing at that point. That goes to any player, offense or defense, right? So, I guess going back to my main point, we saw Jody knows that, Robert knows that. They tried to do something about it. Unfortunately, outside their control, just isn't happening. So now that brings us into the mainstream news of it is what are the expectations on Joe to do something now? What's out there? What can we do to not make the season a wash? And also, there's 16 more games for Zach to get through, and it could possibly not improve that drastically in terms of the line's performance. And yeah, that's a real threat, right? And so, I guess at the end of the day, I think for me, I'm just speaking for myself, you got to believe in Joe D. That was one of the common kind of key themes that people were throwing into the chat in the offseason. Believe in Joe D. I think if there is talent out there, they're going to make a move for it. I really do believe that. I do think that I do have faith with Morgan Moses, and and I'm not saying I'm a big fan, but moving him to a new position, allowing that line to reset, to recalibrate on week 2. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm concerned. I don't know if it's necessarily DEFCON Delta where we really need to. I don't know what the line of thought is there. I mean, if it's so bad, you got to. Then it's on LaFleur to mix up the game plan, right? And maybe we become just a run dominant team, which is what we were supposed to do. Which is why the running game was one of my biggest disappointments. I really do think they got to open up the throwing game to the running backs. Where's Michael Carter with that? That's one of his. That's one of the things I was most excited to see him do is catch those flats. So yeah, I'm concerned, but I think it's too early to really know how this is going to shake out. But it's not the same as McHagnon where, we were like, does he see what's going on the field? I think Jody knows, and I think they tried to make moves. It just the injuries, man, it sucks.
I think you're right. They have made moves. They've drafted 2 offensive linemen in the first round back-to-back years. They've made free agent signings. I mean, it stinks, man. We'll see, though. Mailbag number 4. Since the Patriots don't have a trader from our side, a.k.a. James Morgan, to give them tips, will our offense show up earlier? I think that may have been actually one of the reasons why they struggled so much in the first half. I know that the pass protection was bad, but it sure seemed like they knew what the hell was going on in that first half, man. They shut the Jets out in the first half. What are your thoughts on the Jets maybe starting a little bit faster because they don't have that trader spilling the beans?
Well, I was saving it for one of the later topics, but I follow this channel NYJ Today, and I was watching the Patriots Jets kind of preview video, and this guy was talking about how we need to be aggressive, and I agree with him 100%. I think if the Jets, I think Belichick wants us to be passive. I think that's what they want. I think they want us to kind of be in this kind of reset, like let's take the game slow and see how the players react. And I think that's what Belichick wants us to do. And I think we need to be as aggressive as possible. I think we need to run that ball down their throat. and not be afraid to take more aggressive action in the air if we need to. Um, so I mean, in a nutshell, I just think we need to be aggressive with that game, and I agree with you in your video.
All right, there you go. All right, mailbag 5. This is from one of our very own, Rodrigo Costa. He's pretty much a nightly. He he watches the show live. So thanks for sending in the question. He says, "Do you think good old Bill is going to bring heavy pressure on Sunday?" We talked a little bit about that earlier. I'm really scared seeing Wilson getting thrown to the ground and beaten like he did against Carolina. Can't have that happening again. I mean, we hit on that, man. I think it's definitely going to happen, especially early. I don't think Belichick's going to wait. He's gonna send the house on the first play where he thinks it's gonna be a clear pass, and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. How do they respond? The offensive line and Zach himself, getting the ball out of his hands pretty quickly. All right, mailbag 6. This is from John Snow. He says, "How did you feel about the young corners? How they played?" I think they played pretty well, nothing spectacular, but Hall and Eccles both graded in the mid to high 60s on PFF, which is slightly above average for corners in week 1. Hall was 25th among the 100 qualifying corners. Eccles was 40th. Any takeaways on that? I thought Michael Carter actually had a great game too.
Yeah, I noticed. I thought Michael Carter had a good game. No, I mean, I felt bad for what was his name? Said Redwine. Is that his last name?
Yeah, Redwine. Yeah, Sheldrick Redwine.
He just had a crappy deck of cards handed to him. But no, I thought Michael Carter did good. I didn't think Brandon Eccles had a bad game. That's what I. Yeah,
no, I don't think. No, yeah, he's just saying that he was like ranked 40th out of the 100 qualifying.
Yeah, no, I wasn't totally disappointed in the secondary. I mean, they gave up the big play to Robbie Anderson, but when there was no deep pressure, I mean, I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna say I'm a psychic, but I said if we can't get in pressure, there's no way that secondary you can expect them to hold down the entire field for that long. So, yeah.
Yep. Oh man, he's getting short-winded. Everybody was coming at Mike about his long-winded takes, so he's tightening it up. I like it.
Oh, people say I'm talking your ear off.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Whatever.
I think they're
John
just
talks all the time. Don't get so many shit.
Oh man, there's some really, really good comments in here, guys. I am not ignoring you. I have highlighted all of the ones that I want to get to, so just keep sending them in. There are some really, really good ones. All right, let's keep it. Damn it, Mike.
Oh, I hear it.
We were trashing you in the Sunday show too. We love it's the thing, man. It's just what we do. It's all love though, right? It's like the Jamal Adams treatment. Love, baby. It's all love.
He needs love.
All right, let's go to mailbag 6. Oh, I just read that one. Sorry. Mailbag 7. Will the O-line hold up against the Patriots D? Bill Belichick always has success against rookie quarterbacks. Prepare for a lot of blitzes. We have hit on that part. We haven't really talked about his record. I believe he's 28-8 versus first-round rookie quarterbacks, something like that. What are your thoughts on the fact that he's got like a monstrous winning record versus some of the rooks? Stupid Mike.
He is. I mean, he's one. Whether we like it or not, he's one of the best head coaches to ever play the game. So, I mean, he knows how to pick us apart. I mean, Peyton Manning always said he was the hardest coach to play against. So, I also read an interesting stat that Zach Wilson. Yeah, let me hear this correctly. Let me get this correct. Zach Wilson had the best rookie quarterback start for the Jets since Geno Smith's first game, apparently.
Oh, there you go. Well, I mean, he did have a pretty good game against the Bucs his rookie year. I think we all know Zach had a pretty solid game statistically once he got some more protection. But what are your thoughts on him potentially toppling Belichick? That's going to be a tall task, man.
I mean, is it Zach toppling Belichick or is it LaFleur toppling Belichick?
Okay, that's a fair take. Yeah, I mean that might be where the game is won and lost is the coaching. So I think that's a fair point to make. LaFleur calling his second game in the NFL. It's a big task, man. And I think somebody earlier in the chat talked about that. Like he must be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. because
Oh, for sure.
he's got the Patriots, and then you and me. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that next weekend we're going to be in Denver, but whatever. Anyway, he's got the Denver Broncos. They're looking like a pretty solid little team there, so he's got to be feeling the pressure, LaFleur, in my opinion. All right,
I
let's
mean,
keep it.
but I mean, again, that's why before we went live, like I wasn't 100%. Like I wasn't real bummed out after the loss because I respected the fight and I like the aggressive play calling that happened in the second half. So
Yeah, and the
hopefully they build
adjustments.
off that.
And the adjustments too. I think that's a
Right.
good point. Yep. All right, we'll go to mailbag 8. If Mac Jones outplays Zach Wilson, should we worry or just let nature take its course? I actually like this question. He's not overreacting. He's not saying Mac Jones is going to play better. He's just wondering what what would be the reaction if Mac Jones outperforms Zach Wilson. I'll go. You want me to go first? I don't ever get to go
I
first
mean,
when it's just you and me.
I just got a short response.
Go ahead. Short.
Now I'm going to time myself.
Okay.
I really think that it's apples and oranges because Pats are probably a more consistent performing team than we are right now, and they also have less injuries.
They are, yeah.
I was putting probably in there because I wanted to be nice.
They have the better offensive line. They have the better, defense.
If your quarterback's not running all over the damn field, of course he's going to play better. I just think that that's ridiculous. So, I mean, Zach literally ran from sideline to sideline the entire football game. So, I just think that that's apples and oranges.
Yeah, he's not saying he will have a better game. Some people attacked him after he sent that question. I was like, guys, it's just a speculative question. That's all.
But what does that mean, right? Like, if a quarterback's under duress and throws 3 interceptions, and a quarterback not under duress throws none and two touchdowns, are we really going to say that quarterback played better than the other quarterback? Is that what we're going to say?
I mean, maybe not. I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's just wondering, like, what will be the reaction amongst fans. And I think that overall, I think it's just one of those things. It's kind of like the Sam Darnold thing. Like, Sam Darnold didn't have a great game week 1. He played pretty good. He managed the game decently. He did not have a lot of, interception-worthy plays, fumbles. He had the one, I think, in the red zone. But I just think it's one of those things where, like, it'll just sting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because, he gets the better protection and he has the better team and the better coaching, it just sucks. Like, you don't want to see that. We want to beat the Patriots. F the Patriots. We're sick of losing to the Pats, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. If all things are remain constant, yeah. I mean, I think to me, it's worthy of a discussion about Mac debriefing after Mac's game and his performance, and then of course Zach's. I think I have a number of responses saying that I would just say it's not really worth worrying about, and 2, most of the time it's gonna be they're operating from 2 different worlds almost. You got Bill Belichick's offense versus Mike LaFleur's offense, and it's just they're on 2 different paths, and those paths don't necessarily can be compared. That's the best way. That's how I see it.
Yep, it's an interesting question. It got us talking. So, all right, we do have a super chat from Mike Alizia. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Mike will need some Pedialyte for the hangover in Denver. Honestly, man.
See, he doesn't know me.
So, Mikey boy, I think I've said it before, and this is not an insult to you. You are Frank the Tank. You were very much the drinker of our fraternity in college. But the most amazing thing about Mike, he would get, drunk as a skunk. And I never saw the man throw up. Never. Never throws up.
I can see that.
It's amazing. It's incredible. Having said that, I'll be the one that needs the Pedialyte. I am a softie, and I'll have myself a little 6-pack of beer, and I'll be on my ass because that's just what I do. So,
yeah.
Thank you for.
He's in good hands. Don't worry about him. I'll make sure he gets back in one piece.
Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the support. Means a lot. Let's get to the last mailbag, and then I have got a ton of comments to catch up on. So we'll do that right after this. If Saleh can fix the O-line and keep Zach healthy, he wins Coach of the Year. And I just read this not too long. It was tonight. He just sent me this message, and I said, dude, can I use this tonight on the show? If we can turn the offensive line into just a competent group, they don't need to become dominant. See Elijah Vera Tucker get some development. Maybe Becton can come back and play decently later on in the year. If he can get the offensive line to rebound a little bit here, and we keep Zach healthy and play all 17, give it to him, because that's a big task right now.
What'd you think of his press conference?
Saleh's?
Yeah,
I listened to it. I mean, nothing really big takeaways. The big takeaway is Mims, which is in the chat. You know, we're gonna get to Mims. I am getting pretty frustrated with the Mims thing, and I have settled on the idea that I understand why the coaches are doing what they're doing, because they're trying to set a new culture and a new, this is a new regime. They don't want to do things the same old way. And so if they really believe like Mims hasn't done the right thing in the classroom, in his film study, in his preparation, I understand it. Having said that, though, there is a little bit of give and take here in this situation. Mims is super talented. And I feel like 2 reps in the game versus the Panthers has to be the biggest slap in the face to the guy. There's no reason why he shouldn't be getting on the field more. I'm not saying he should get starters reps. I'm not even saying he should be in on 3 wide receiver sets. But give him more opportunities, man. Like, he's talented. He makes plays. That's what he's been doing since last year on a crappy team. So it boggles me, man. It absolutely boggles the mind.
I was gonna say, I'm not saying it's his first press conference after a game, but I was just wanting a little bit more emotion. I don't know if I'm wrong to ask for that. I felt like I'll tell you about my dad. My dad, I said, here's another coach who doesn't want to acknowledge that the team has problems. Robert is a player's coach, and he, is very similar. His press conference reminded me of Herman Edwards' press conference, which was like, it's a process. It is a process. I agree with him, but it's a process. We got to go back and regroup. And so I don't really agree with my dad. Like, I don't think a coach comes out and says, "Yeah, my team really has some problems." I was hoping like he would just bring a little bit more emotion, maybe a little bit more kind of like, damn, this sucks. I really thought we were going to win this game kind of thing.
A rallying cry?
Yeah, a little bit.
I hear you. I don't hate on that take. That's not a bad take. All right, we're going to get to the chat because there's just an infinite amount. And honestly, I don't even know if, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if we need topics today. There's just an incredible amount of chat going on. So I'm going to go pretty quickly here. I'll stop on a couple of these. Blunted Vegas is saying Yaboa needs to learn the playbook like Mims. Yeah, I mean, that's clearly what Saleh is saying. Like, that is the reason why he's not getting on the field, is because they want him to know all 3 of the wide receiver positions in the playbook. But does Berrios know all 3? Like, is that really what we're saying? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Is Berrios going to be lining up on the outside like Corey Davis does? I don't get it. I don't know. But he's not wrong. He's not wrong in what he's saying. This is my opinion, but they should play a 5-man D-line and on offense play 4 wides a lot. So he's suggesting playing a 5-2 defense, which is 5 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers. I don't know if they have to do that all the time, but I get it. I hear what he's saying. Like, put more defensive line on there because that's one of our deepest positions. And then, we should be using our wide receiver depth to its advantage. We are loaded. We're getting Cole back. We're getting Crowder back. And honestly, last week, without those 2, I feel like we survived. Like, we did okay. Right. And in years past, if we had lost 2 of our receivers, I think we would have been in deep doo-doo. So I think that's encouraging.
Thanks to Corey Davis.
Corey Davis is a man. He's a man. And I recall loving that signing, and that was the one signing I predicted before free agency. I got that one right. That's the only one.
You wanted what's his face?
Predicted. Hold on. Predicted. Not who I wanted. I predicted Davis. I wanted Samuel. There is a difference.
You wanted. We
I
talked
want
about it.
I
I'm gonna
wanted
expose
Curtis.
you. I'm gonna expose you on live TV.
Expose this. All right. Harry W says, "What do you think of the linebacker BJ Goodson signing?" I like it. He played, pretty good last year for the Browns, and God knows we need some linebackers on this defense. Blake Cashman injured again, of course. Jamie Sherwood injured, and then we also know Gerard Davis is out as well. So the linebacking crew is thin. So I'm okay with the signing. Hoping that I think the rumor right now is Sherwood could be back next week, which I think is good.
Okay.
With regards to Mims, this is from Tommy R. He says Salah contradicted himself in today's presser. He said they need to use players in ways that bring out their talent. But not so with Mims? That's my take. That's exactly my take. Why are they not putting this guy in positions to have a role and to be successful in the offense? There was a play on Twitter that I found. I wish that I could put it on the stream. They had Berrios doing he was down blocking, so they ran to the left. They did a Elijah Moore jet sweep to the left, and the play did terribly. It got blown up for like a 3-yard loss. But on that side, they had Berrios blocking like a defensive lineman. Like, what the hell is that? That's not Berrios' strengths.
What if the next thing we hear is we pick up Tim Tebow? Tim Tebow's gonna be our next tight end, baby.
I think so. This is not on topic, but Tebow I think is officially done in the NFL, and that's an okay thing. I hear you. Lindels is a little bit more, bullish. He is saying that Mims needs to study the playbook, and honestly, man, there's nothing wrong with that take because that is what Saleh is saying. So we have to trust Saleh a little bit here. It's only week 2.
Why was he in preseason? I go back to your comment with Chad, which is he made big plays in preseason. So I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not saying it does. I don't know, man. He should be getting more opportunities. That's all I'm saying at this point. That's all he needs is give him some more shots to catch passes. He doesn't need to be on the field all the time. Hey guys, let's go Jets. Good to see you, Manny C. What's up, Vern? Good to see you as well. There's a lot of people in here right now. If you guys have not hit the like button, go ahead and do that right now for me. I would really appreciate it.
Like it up.
Thomas Hewitt, this is a cool one. I read this earlier and I got me all excited. He says he does Casper against Zach. They gonna get burned. And what he's saying is if they do zero blitz, Zach will attack.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Was that what that? Did you watch the Vegas game, right?
I didn't. No.
You didn't watch it Monday night game?
I wish I had. It was a great game.
So chat, because there's probably better NFL or hobbyist analysts out there. There was a play where Derek Carr at the very end, they try to blow him up. The Ravens try to blow him up in the backfield. And I think they brought everyone. I think that was a cover 0.
Yes,
approach.
It was. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
One of the things that was on Twitter was people said don't run cover 0 versus the Raiders because what they did to the Jets last year in the cover 0 thing. So,
yeah.
Thomas Hewitt says, and this is a good take too. I've heard this and I've thought this myself. I think Green Bay came out flat and parts of our team just weren't ready for week 1. Next week we will be different. Will be different for many teams, and I think it's fair to say that the Jets may not be quite as cluster F on offensive line as they were week 1. I think that's totally fair. And again, you just got to hope that they're studying their balls off to get ready for this game because
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. He was just pointing out that teams come out flat sometimes. That's just what happens.
But we also got to remember now it's not apples to apples, right? So we got Fant now at left tackle. We got Morgan. We got Moses in. I just say they're in totally different positions. So take your best guess on how they react to that. Unless I don't know how the offensive line practices. Do they practice rotating positions just in the event that happens? I guess.
I think they do a little bit. I think in practice for sure.
Okay.
Fant wants to be a left tackle. I'm pretty sure that's the position he wants to play. The Jets clearly want him to be a right tackle. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Tommy R says, when James comes back from his wedding, you should ask him to review Beck's play. Is the missed blocks due to too slow, low effort, trying to make the highlight reel? That's a great question, and I think that you're right. We need to get James to get over himself and come home from your wedding, first of all.
Big deal.
Stop being selfish, James. And, come home and just, review film for us. And
Yeah. Live in John's basement and just stay there.
You can leave the green light on. You can do a little film study in the dark. It's all good. Let's keep going to the chat here. Let's see. I think Mims is super talented, and he'll be a great player, but this year is about Zach Wilson, so if they think he's not ready yet, I'd rather have the best player out there to help development of Zach Wilson. I think that's totally fair. And again, that crack is loud. I don't hate the idea of him maybe, Mims specifically not playing right now and maybe later in the season getting involved once he does pick up the playbook. The thing that scares me is if he starts to be inactive, which I think is going to happen, they may trade this dude, and I would not be happy about that at all. It would really, really piss me off, man. Oh my God!
I'm trying to keep it together, but you're really it's boiling you.
I know statistically he hasn't done much, but again, if you're considering what team he played on last year, the flashes he made in that horrendous offense, and again, I know 2 plays. He caught a 40-yard ball. He split this up.
You were at your family's. What's their thoughts on this?
I think everybody kind of agrees with me. They're not as bullish as I am, but I feel like he makes plays when he gets his opportunities. He did it in the preseason. He did it last year. He's doing it this year. Just give him the rock every once in a while. It's kind of how I feel. And if they trade him, that's just, I'll be pissed. Let's see. Honestly, I wasn't worried about the DBs. We expect some errors with them, but the O-line and D-line are supposed to be our strength, and O-line simply can't fail because Zach will end up in the ER. That's my worry. At this point now, I'm cool with 5 wins. I had predicted 7 to 8 wins before the season. If we get 5 wins, but Zach plays all 17, I'll sign that dotted line right now. I just want my quarterback healthy and to learn and to develop. I feel a win. The hell with Belichick. I want the win, man. I'm going to be there on Sunday. Chad will be there. My wife will be there. Anybody that's going to the game, shoot me a DM on Twitter. I would love to meet up with you guys. I'll be at the Gotham City Crew tailgate. Yes, the Denver defense is legit, and we're going to have our hands full having to block their defense and honestly just to even move the football. They're pretty doggone good. Grant Rude, good to see you in the chat. He says, only 1 game, but LaFleur has a long way to go in my opinion. I don't want to say for sure he has a long way to go because it has only been 1 week. And I'll still feel the same way even after he plays against the Patriots. I want to see him, maybe by mid-season I'll be ready to start making some proclamations about him and whether or not he's showing any, creativity and, just an understanding of, how to come up with a really good game plan to attack. So this is Jeremy Cravat, and he says, Zach's numbers in a 16-game season based on Sunday. Well, it is a 17-game season, so maybe that's a typo. But he said 32 TDs, 16 picks, 4,200 passing yards with the worst offensive line pass protection in the league, according to CBS Sports. Yeah, and the Panthers' defense is pretty legit, actually. They're young, they're fast. They've got some talent on that defense, so I think things can definitely be improved. They can go up. When we play against, Atlanta, he can have a pretty good game against Atlanta, I think. When we play against the Jags, Zach Wilson can have a really good game against the Jags, I think. There are teams on the schedule where he can have a day, I think. All right, keeping it moving. This team won't be intimidated by Belichick. You're probably right. They probably welcome the challenge. Most competitors, they don't back down from anybody. You know, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, you want to face the best of the best. So we'll see.
Do you think, real quick, do you think it will be drastically worse for the team and Zach if he doesn't win one? Like, he has to play his predecessor. He has to play Mac Jones on our arch rival, and then we got to play the number one pick of the draft, who everyone's on the Jets for not losing, so that we could get Trevor Lawrence. In which case, there is a possibility we lose to all three. In which case, do you think that that's like a recipe for disaster from a PR standpoint?
Nah, not really. We were a 2-14 team last year, and we liked the off season, but they are the youngest squad in the NFL. Like, that is a stat. It's a known fact. You can't sugarcoat that. We are a young team, and now we're starting to become a young injured team, which is even worse.
Right.
So it's going to be a rough go of it, man. There's going to be some weeks where we're really excited because they looked really good, and there's going to be weeks where they don't look so good, man. It's just going to happen. Rusty Spooner says, don't let the Pats fool you. They're not the same without Brady. From December 2020 till now, the Pats are 2-4, and so are we. Pats ain't ish without Brady. Losing Brady is a factor, no doubt. We'll see. Zach's going to light up the Pats defense. We're going to get into the matchup a little bit later. I'm going to try to catch up to all these chats. And we'll talk a little bit about, there's something that's concerning to me, but it does not have to do with our offense. It actually has to do with our defense. I don't know if I'll be right or not, but that's my early concern right now with this game. Vern is confirming. He's saying we won't see much of Mims this year, but it was obvious all the way back in camp. Let's see. So Vinny Bad, he says the refs sucked in the game, and if you remember the game-winning run by McCaffrey at the end of the game, there was a clear hold on Guidry. It should have wiped the play out, but they didn't call it. So it's very frustrating when the refs do not go in your favor. Let's see. Trying to catch up here. Grant Rude says, Jets' theory on Mims is like having a prep cook that's amazing with appetizers, but not letting him touch anything because he can't make desserts and mains and drinks. It's freaking stupid. I agree. I don't like it. I do not like it. Rodrigo, he says, how does Jeff Smith know the playbook better if they started being trained by Salah during the same time? Well, that's where it gets into that question of, is like Mims putting in the effort? Is he working hard? I see a hard worker in Mims. I see somebody that's hungry, but there must be something going on behind the scenes. Manny C, this is fair. No doubt he definitely plays the slot better, but he can't line up on the outside. I think that's the thing that Mims can do, is like he can line up on the outside even though he's not able to line up in the slot. Thomas Hewitt, he says, Mims doesn't know the playbook, period. If all the other players can learn the playbook, he can too. I'm with Salah. Kids gotta grow up. And man, listen, I will give credit to the coaching staff. They have held their ground on this. They're not backing down because the fans are, screaming. That takes some guts, especially from a new coaching staff, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. I want Mims freed, just like everybody else does. Free Mimsy. But I think it's just they're gonna hold their ground here, and they want to see Mims do more off the field, not on the field. Rob O, it's good to see you in the chat. You look like a new person, so welcome. He says, if the Jets even had an average tight end, the offense would improve tremendously. Clearly the biggest weakness on the roster. I can't say I disagree. And the tight end position this week could be proved to be very important. What are your thoughts on using tight ends this week to help out with pass protection, Mike?
I love that idea, actually. I think that's really great. I mean, the contributions of Croft last week were pretty much nil. So if we're not going to get contributions down the field, we might as well use it to correct any deficiencies we have with protecting the man that needs to be part of our future. I think that outcome really is dependent on how the on how the running game performs. If the running game gets going, then I'm okay letting the tight ends go downfield. But if that running game doesn't go anywhere, then we might as well keep the tight end back. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
So Go Getta is coming back at the person who said the Pats are not anything without Brady. So I think what he's insinuating here is they have a Hall of Fame coach, and the team's pretty solid actually. You know, they are without Brady, and that definitely hurts them. But it's still a pretty good team, and it's a very well coached team. So, take that as it is. Oh my God. Is Mims Velveeta cheese when you run out of ricotta on your baked ziti? I don't know, man. That's a pretty good analogy, though. I like that. Oh, man. Let's keep going. I'm trying to catch up. I'm almost there. We are there. All right, let's go ahead and move to our very first topic. We are exactly 1 hour through the show, and we'll hit our first topic. So, topic number 1 is, drumroll, Week 1 reflections. We already talked a lot about the Week 1 game. Anything that you haven't had a chance to talk about from the first game, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because there are other topics that I want to get to that we can spend most of the show talking about.
What happened? Where was the pressure? I don't have the eye that you and James have, but I just don't know where the pressure went. I mean, we have such amazing talent on that line. Was there a scheme that Carolina was playing that just kind of neutralized us? I don't understand it.
Yeah, so Quinnen Williams, my thing with Quinnen right now, and that's a good segue, Mike, because we didn't really talk about Quinnen. We didn't talk about Sheldon Rankins, Jonathan Franklin Myers. I feel like with Quinnen specifically, and again, I don't like making excuses for players, but he is coming off of that foot injury, and it was pretty significant. And, big guys particularly, they need to be able to get their conditioning in. And I think that may have been an issue for Quinnen Williams, especially this Week 1 game. I think that's going to get better really quickly the more he practices and the more he plays. But I think, conditioning had to be a factor, man. He didn't play any preseason. He played a very, very little in the training camp. So I think Quinnen just needs more time to get healthy and to get right. I have no excuse for Sheldon Rankins. He was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And I thought Jonathan Franklin Myers, although he did get a sack, there wasn't really consistent pressure. They weren't consistently getting in the face of Sam Darnold. Only in the second half they started to get after him a little bit more.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I was hoping for more too. Foley Fatukasi, he didn't really get his nose in there too much. As far as the pass rush goes. I know that's not his strength necessarily, but right. I don't know, man. I'm worried about the pass.
Curious.
No, it's okay. I mean, other guys too. Bryce Huff. He was on the field, and I remember. I remember early in the game they did an audible. It was like the second play of the game or something like that, and Huff was on the edge, and I was like, they're gonna run at Bryce Huff. I was like, they audible, and I said they are gonna run at him, and they did. They actually ran towards him. I was kind of proud of myself. I felt like a real coach for once, and but they did. They ran at him a little bit, and he was pretty much a non-factor in the game. I don't know how many downs he got on the field. But yeah, I'm with you, man. The pass rush, it's got to be one of the top concerns because we were all telling ourselves, even after the Carl Lawson injury, we're like, okay, we'll be all right. Like, we have our interior rushers still. We have some young guys on the edge. Like, we'll get some consistent pressure. It might not be elite, but we'll get after the quarterback some. And it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Let's go back here. Definitely liked a couple of the plays from Jonathan Franklin Myers. He stopped a run by DJ Moore. He also got the sack as well, the only sack in the game.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's worrisome. The Panthers' offensive line is supposed to be dreadful.
We got one sack.
Right, one sack and not a whole lot of hits on the QB, which is not good. Manny C says, can we just sign Jonathan Franklin Myers to a long-term deal already? They could, man. There's no reason they can't. I would like to see a little bit more out of him before we do that, though. Tommy R says to the untrained eye, the D-line definitely look like they have room to improve, for sure. Like, again, just looking at it, not even the sack numbers. It's also like just the impact on the game. You never really felt like the D-line was really making an impact.
Right.
So,
thank goodness that wasn't Tampa.
Oh my God, jeez. And this is a fair point, too. And this is part of the problem. And this is one of the things that we're going to talk about in a minute. It's hard to sack check down Charlies. Teams that have running backs like McCaffrey, not even as good as McCaffrey, but running backs that can do all kinds of routes from the backfield, that makes it really, really hard. Not only are they hard to cover, but they can get the ball out really, really fast. And that was definitely one of my concerns going into the game. And unfortunately, it reared its ugly head because they were throwing it to him. I think he had 9 receptions in the game. And so, I don't know. We'll see, man. I think that's one of my early concerns. Without spilling the beans too much, that's one of my concerns in this game coming up. Still on the Mims conversation, I believe.
Started a war.
It's so... Amongst fans, it's definitely a hot button topic. Like, it's not just us. It's Snoopy says, in my opinion, that terrible coaching, benching a talented player because his knowledge of every position is limited. Don't good coaches put playmakers in positions? I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Randy Moss here. I'm not saying he is Randy Moss, so don't go there. But Randy Moss used to have, like, a reputation for, taking plays off and stuff like that. Like, he was just, like, a playmaker, man. Like, you can't afford to not have guys on the field. And that's kind of how I view Mims. Like, although he may not be doing exactly what they want him to do in the classroom, he needs to be given opportunities. All right. Yeah, Vern, we're going to talk about it. It's not just him, man. There's other people I'm thinking about. All right, let's keep it moving and grooving. We talked about week 1. I'm glad you mentioned the pass rush, the lack of it. And we'll go to topic number 2, if I can find it. Sorry. Topic 2 is going to be Zach Wilson versus Mac Jones. We've talked a lot about Zach Wilson, so let's talk about Mac Jones, the Patriots quarterback. They drafted him out of Alabama, first-round pick. I believe 15th overall. What are you thinking? Did you get to see any of the game versus the Miami Dolphins? I saw a couple of plays. I saw some things that were pretty good by him. What are your initial concerns or, thoughts regarding facing Mac Jones week 2?
Yeah, I think let me make sure. I mean, my thoughts on Mac Jones in the game with Miami was I was surprised. He looked pretty. I mean, I just saw the highlights. I'm not going to say I went back and watched the game, but he seemed pretty composed. Obviously, that's one thing I feel like the Patriots quarterbacks, except for maybe Cam, seem to have. They just seem to be really composed back there. Of course, they had Brady for 20 years, so it's not like they've had that many quarterbacks over the last recent history. But he definitely seemed composed back there. I definitely think, if I was the tape that I saw, he does like to tear it apart with those tight ends. So I do think, in that regard, I do think that the linebackers are in for a rough week, and to see what they do there. So yeah, I mean, obviously Mac had a good week 1. They ended up losing that game. However, I think the one thing I take away from that is Mac seems to go through his progressions pretty consistently. So how does our defense react to how does our guys react to that, especially if we don't get pressure again for week 2? So I think that, I don't know. Did I see that correctly? They are going after tight ends. He uses tight ends pretty heavily.
You saw me face palming because I agree with you, and it is my top concern going into this game. I think that we can play okay offensively. I think that our offensive line can rebound. I even think our defensive line can sort of rebound. By the way, Robbie Oak is saying hello to you. You're not late, Robbie
What's up,
Oak.
Robbie?
You're here. You're live on the show, so you're not late. You're on time. Um, I'll be honest with you. That's the big factor in this football game, and I think that this is the reason why we could end up losing the game. I'm not predicting, that we're gonna get destroyed. I still think this is a close football game. But if the Patriots are gonna win, that's gonna be the determining factor. I think is that James White could absolutely do what McCaffrey did to us week 1. I know he's not as talented as McCaffrey. Again, don't get it twisted. But he does those types of things, man. He runs routes very nicely. He's very crisp in that. And for a young quarterback, that's a pretty good thing to have. A James White who's a veteran. And I'm worried about us being able to cover him. We are down bodies at the linebacking core. So, James White, you mentioned the tight ends, Mike. They signed big contracts to Jonnu Smith and to Hunter Henry. Those are not slouches. Those are big-time guys that can make big plays. They're not elite tight ends, but they are guys that you can go to. And, again, they're going to be going after our linebackers with B.J. Goodson probably starting, who we just signed. I'm concerned about that. I think that's going to be a problem for our defense. I think kind of like the Panthers game, we were kind of expecting them to attack our young secondary. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think they're going to attack the linebacking core like the Panthers did. Not too much deep stuff. It's just going to be all short and intermediate.
Jacoby Myers looks like, based off what I saw.
Say that again?
Jacoby Myers, I think he was. Who's the other one? Is it Aguilar?
No, I think Aguilar's on the Raiders, but yeah, their receivers don't necessarily scare me on the Pats.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more about the running backs, and it's all about the running backs and the tight ends. This is a funny comment. Grant Rude, he says, "Do you think Goodson will know all 3 linebacker positions?"
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad that Grant Rude and I agree on this, man, because we don't disagree often, but I feel like it's not always like pretty much the same view. I feel like I kind of see it the same way. Like, why does he need to know all 3? What's the point? Like, they that's their expectation. I get it, but does he really need all 3 to be able to play on the team? I don't know. Aguilar had a good game. I don't think he's a Patriot, but I hear what you're saying. Aguilar is on the Patriots apparently, so that's my bad. I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
No, you're good.
6 for 72 is what Go Getta is saying. He had 6 receptions for 72 yards.
Yeah. No, like I said, I just saw the highlight on Game Pass, and that's his rhythm. That's where Mac Jones is going. Besides when he can't check down or can't go to his tight end, so. I think it's going to be. It's really going to come down to getting pressure again. If we can't get pressure, I really think we're in for some trouble.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the crowd, I hope we show up and we show out.
Oh, I keep forgetting you're going to be there. I keep forgetting that.
I am going to be there. I'm going to probably wind up losing my voice. I have to whistle. I can whistle with my hands. I have to do that more than scream, because if I lose my voice, I can't do my job the next day. All right. We'll move on from Mac Jones. I'm disgusted thinking about him picking us apart. That's not a good thought at all. The other thing we can talk a little bit about is Salah versus Belichick. We talked about LaFleur versus Belichick. Saleh is the head coach, though. He has to, take ownership of that responsibility, planning and game planning, telling his coordinators how he wants to attack this Belichick-led Patriots team. What are your initial concerns, thoughts? Are you excited to see Saleh go against Belichick? I'm in the frame of mind where I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing how Saleh responds and how he attacks the team.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely want to see whether Saleh's energy, which is one of the biggest things that made us so excited when the news broke that we signed him, was, the energy that he would bring the team both after wins and after defeats. And I think more than ever, this team really needs his young energy, his fiery composure to bring us to reset the team, to reset these young men, to reset our veterans, and to really get them ready to play. During game time, I definitely like what I saw with Carolina. He was on the field. He's in every play. He almost has that. He almost needs that like McVay, line guy that holds him back and stuff
He
like that.
does. He does have a guy. He has a get back
Oh, does
guy.
he?
Yeah.
Does he have to get that guy? So obviously, Robert's more polished than Rex, so he's not going to tell Belichick to go stick it where the sun don't shine. But I do think that the team needs to see that energy. I think they'll need that energy. They need it through the week to get ready for game planning and for try to get this week 1 loss out of the way. I think more than ever, though, I don't think we're going to see Robert. I don't expect to see Robert kind of dumbfounded. I don't think Belichick will bring anything that will totally stun Robert or the other coaches. I think it really will just come down to whether the players can execute it. Yeah, I really think that's what it'll come down to. I think there's more pressure on the coordinators, to be honest with you, than there is on Robert. That's my gut reaction to that.
Well, I'll throw one thing in here. I don't want to see us be overly conservative versus the Patriots. I know you don't want to go reckless and do the ghost thing. You throw the ball up in the air and just let them catch everything. But I think that's almost like feeding into Belichick. If we're trying to run the ball, right straight up the gut, like that's not going to trick Belichick. Like that, we have to do a little bit of a variety, I think, in our offense, the way we attack the Patriots defense specifically. So if we come out and we're really conservative, I would be a little bit concerned. But at the same time, though, maybe they do need to be conservative because they know the offensive line's a weakness or potentially is a weakness. And maybe they make it a defensive game. Grant Rood's saying, I got to believe Ulbricht's D, really Salah's D, will be okay versus the Pats. So maybe we make it a slugfest game. Maybe it's a 13 to 10 game or like a 17 to 14 game, like just a really like a close, low scoring game, kind of like what we saw with the Panthers. Make it a slugfest rather than like a aerial assault. So
let's pick that apart. Which side of our which side of the ball do we feel is positioned to be the more consistent in executing? Would we say it's our defense?
I think so.
The pressure?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I think so because they did hold up against the Panthers, who are loaded with weapons. I got to think that defensively we should be okay. My thinking is they're going to be efficient. Like, that's my concern. They're not going to, like, rip the top off of our defense. They're not going to be scoring 80-yard touchdowns or anything like that. But
right.
I just feel like they could be very, very efficient in the red zone. They could be efficient on third downs. That's my big concern with the offense that the Patriots have versus our defense. So, Go Getta is saying that the Dolphins' blitzes did not work versus the Patriots. The Patriots have a good offensive line. They have a solid offensive line, so Rusty Spooner is saying we should blitz the hell out of Mac, have a QB spy. I don't know if we need a QB spy versus Mac, although I guess he's not terribly slow. Like, he can run. So maybe not a bad idea. I don't hate the idea of blitzing him every once in a while, but I don't want to blitz him recklessly. Like, I think he could definitely do some damage versus the blitz. I could see that for sure, especially if we're not getting to him, if we're not hitting him and impacting him. The Dolphins, Damian Harris fumbled in the red zone. I watched that play happen live. The Patriots were basically ending the game. They were milking the clock. They were going to kick a field goal at worst case, and the guy fumbled it, and the Dolphins won because of that. Fumbled in the red zone, had nothing to do with the blitz. Oh, he's talking to Rusty Spinner. They're going back and forth a little bit. Without a doubt, the D is in a better position to succeed versus the Pats. The O needs a lot of work. Yep, I think that's fair. But anyway, I will go back to what we were originally talking about. I think Salah needs to make sure he has a really, really good game plan. I know that's overstated a lot, but I think it's really important that we don't F around. We need to make sure we protect Zach, and scheming protection can absolutely happen. You can scheme protection, and you can also scheme to get the ball out quickly. So those are the types of things I do want to see early in the game, is getting the ball out fast and letting Zach just make easy reads, man. That's what I want to see early on in the game. All right. We will go to the last topic of the night. And it's going to be week 2 predictions. So you can predict how you see the game going. I don't remember what you predicted for week 1.
I thought we'd win.
I thought we would win too.
21-17, I think is what I said. But anyway.
Yeah. I said 28-24. And I was trying to think. I did say that McCaffrey could be an issue for us. I mean, I know that's obvious, but I was pretty confident that he was going to eat on us a little bit.
Yeah.
I did not see our lines playing so poorly. I didn't see that happening at all. So why don't you go ahead first, and I'll throw in my predictions for this Patriots game.
Yeah, I have the score I wrote down just looking at it is 24-14. I have
Who do you have winning? 24-14.
Us. I'm going Jets.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
24-14 Jets. Hey man. Go for it, I say. Let's hear why you think 24-14 Jets.
I do think that the D line, I do think our D resets. Obviously I think we'll be at home. I think that's going to really help, especially with a young team. Although traditionally my thoughts are the Jets don't do good at home. That was always one of my kind of things. I felt like, I don't know the stats, and maybe someone in the chat knows. I felt like we've always been a team that does better on the road for some reason. And that could totally be just totally false perception or observation. But I always just felt like we were a better road team than home team. But I think with a young team, being home will really help. I do think Robert's energy and his ability to be a true players coach and reset that team, help these young men get their sea legs under them, not let a week 1 loss turn them away for what their goals and what their expectations are for the season. I think on the field, offensive side, I think Michael LaFleur is really going to try to turn on that run game. Like I said, the run game was one of the biggest disappointments for me. I do think hopefully one of the running backs, I'm not a big Tevin Coleman fan, so everyone knows that, but I'm thinking Ty Johnson. I'm thinking some flats to Michael Carter. Getting Michael Carter out there will be really good. I'd also think that we see Elijah Moore come on this game more than the last game. I think Michael LaFleur is going to find a way to really use this gifted young man to really spread that defense apart. And if they do run cover 0, I do think the one man who blows up that cover 0 is Elijah Moore. Of course, Corey Davis is out there too, but I think Elijah Moore is perfect for that. And if they do try to pull some of that BS. On defensive side, I do think we get success in trying to rattle Mag that we unfortunately didn't do with Sam. I do think the D-line, hopefully Quinn Williams does bounce back.
Dude, we need a bounce back game from him. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to say that's critically important. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do think Quinn Williams wakes up. I think C.J. Mosley is the man who shuts down the dump pass, the dink and dunk. And then, I could be totally wrong about this because I don't know this Pat's depth chart, but I think our secondary is actually in a better position to be more consistent given the wide receiver talent at New England versus some of the deep threats that Carolina had. So they put up points. I do think the Jets can turn it around. Like I'm hoping they do. We can squeak out a win, especially with you there, the lucky charm.
Yeah, I don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but this is a tough game, and I predicted before the season began that this was going to be a loss for us. So I don't want to change the script just off of 1 week. So I'm going to stick with what I think will happen. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think we're going to see a number of field goals, and I think it's going to be fairly low scoring. I'm going to go with, I'll say 20-14. No, not 20-14. I'll say 20-17. 16. Very close game. Bunch of field goals. And I think we're going to have a hard time in the red zone scoring. If we do get into the red zone, it's going to be hard for us to score against them. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. I think it's going to be hard for us to cover James White, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. Defensively, I think we'll do okay. I think kind of like what Grant Reed was talking about earlier. I don't see them lighting us up by any means. I do think that the crowd is going to be really, really loud early on in the game. I think that could be, that's where I will say we have a shot. If we can come out and get a lead, even if it's like 3-0, 7-0, just some sort of lead early in the football game to get momentum, to keep the crowd into it, I think is really, 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 really important. If we fall behind 16-0 like we did week 1, no chance we're coming back. Belichick's not going to give up a lead like that. So for right now, it's 20-16. I'm going to give the Pats the win. I'm going to hope that I'm dead wrong, kind of like what I was week 1.
You are dead wrong.
I hope I'm wrong, man. I don't want to lose this game. I want to go 1-1, and I want to go into that Denver game with you, buddy. And I want to have a chance to go and, shock the world and go to 2-1. Like, that's what I'm going to be rooting for. I want to go to Denver 1-1, and we can try to get a win that we probably don't deserve. DSMY says 26-16.
There's my boy.
And he says, if Zach gets time. If they don't protect Zach, he don't know.
I like it.
Go get us saying 52-10, to be fair. Let's see. 23-13 Jets. I like the scores. They're really quite reasonable, I think. A lot of people are projecting, in that range. Yep. Yes. All right. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show here. I want to thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button right now, do so before we wrap it up. I'm going to be live on Sunday at some point. My hope is 8 o'clock like we normally do it. It's going to be me riding in the car on the way home from the game. So Michelle will make an appearance on the post-game show. It'll be Michelle and I. Yeah. And I will give you guys my feedback, my thoughts on the game. I'm hoping it's a massive win. And, I hope everybody is. That's the other thing we didn't really talk about. Who's going to this football game? I would love to know. If you guys want to reach out to me, email me at, nyjtoday@gmail.com. I'll be there, man. Pom-poms and everything. And just hope that if you guys are going to the game, have an awesome time, be safe, and let's get that win, man, because we could really use it. I think as a fan base, we deserve that. We deserve a win, especially at home. I think it would just be a great environment to be a part of. Enjoy the game. Anyone else who goes, I would love to be there. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Thank you, C. Wally. Haven't seen you in a while, man. It's good to see you right now.
Good to see you, man.
I'm getting hammered. Go get it. Says I'm getting hammered. Yeah, well, I'll get hammered before.
I'll be with you, go get her.
I'm getting hammered before the game. I'm gonna drink as much as I can before I get into the stadium, and then I gotta sober up. Thank you guys. Appreciate all the support. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go Jets. Mike, you got any last second thoughts?
I just wanted to say what a good community you got on the channel. I mean, I think week after week we just see more and more people, and it's good to see same old names out there. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope your work weeks are going well. If it's a school week for you, hopefully your school week is going well. And hey, win or loss, it's football season, baby. So can't be too bad.
There it is, and we'll end it right there. Go Jets! Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time. Word from my daughter. Peace, y'all.